Hi everyone, it's Lottie here. I am filming from the Ardèche in the south of France today for Campfire Stories. Campfire Stories is this amazing retreat that I had the pleasure of going to last summer. I'm still hoping that it's going to go ahead and that I get to cook there. But in the meantime, I thought I would join you because we're amidst this awful coronavirus crisis, and I thought it would be useful for you to make your own kraut, or zuurkool as we call it in Holland, because it's really good for your immune system, and it really it boosts your immune system. So I'm not doing this live because my house, which is kind of up there, hasn't got very great light, and I'm doing this in a little wood cabin with this tiny little mini kitchen behind me, so hopefully you can follow it, but it's not live because Wi-Fi is a little bit tricky here in the middle of the woods. So I'm going to get cracking. Are you ready? So guys, what do we actually need? Well, to make a really basic sauerkraut, we only need 2 ingredients, okay? So we need cabbage, and you can use any cabbage that you like. So today we'll be using a Savoy cabbage, but you can use red, you can use white, you can use hispy, you can use basically whichever cabbage you wish to use. And the second ingredient is that you need some salt, and I tend to use really good sea salt rather than table salt. I'll show you 3 of my favourites. The first one being Hallemon. It's from Anglesey, and it's really good because it's got a really fine flake, and that flake dissolves really simple and very easily, so it makes making kraut quicker. The second one I'm going to show you is salt from Ibiza. I totally fell in love with the packaging, so I don't mind admitting it, but it also happens to be a really good salt. And sometimes you can buy versions with like some flowers in it, some dried flowers, which makes your flavourful kraut a little bit more complex, so that's quite nice. As I'm in France, I've of course got to use Camargue salt, and that's what I'm going to do. And the interesting thing about this salt is that it's quite grey looking, but again it melts very easily, so it makes it very quick. Now I'm going to use, because I want to make the kraut a little bit sexier than just, you know, sauerkraut, I'm going to use some garlic, and I'm going to use some bronze fennel, and we're just going to put that up a little bit closer so it's just the stalks and stuff. And the reason why I'm using that is because normally, to give it a real Nordic flavour, I would use dill, and dill is not very big in France, so I've got some bronze fennel, and that's what we're going to do. Right, let's get on with it, and let's get cracking. So let's just shred the cabbage as thin as possible. The note to say here is that, of course, the thinner you do it, the quicker your kraut is made, the quicker it's fermented, the quicker you can eat it. But you can use, or you can cut it whichever way you want. Okay, so I'm just doing like some long thready bits. Let's have a look. And the other thing is I use everything, so the stalk, everything. I really try and not waste any of the vegetable at all. Of course, if there's not such good bits on it, you would cut that off. So you're not going to use some like rotten bits or anything. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to add that to my bowl, which I have here. Okay, that's just going to go in like that. And then I'm going to need a clove of garlic. So again, just top and tail it. I'm going to try and not cut myself. I've just sharpened my knife. So I just very finely slice this. And I'm not actually going to grate it. I'm just going to keep it in nice big chunks. And that's going to go in to the bowl as well. And then we've got this fennel. Now the important thing is that over time the hard stalks would kind of soften, but because I made my cabbage I cut it quite finely, I want this to ferment quite quickly as well, and I don't want to have thready bits in. So I'm going to chop it a little bit finer, and I'm going to take the very big bits off. So there we go. The nice thing about making kraut is that it's such an organic process. You kind of just have a go and you know, see what happens, rather than knowing exactly what outcome you're going to achieve. So now I've got everything in the bowl. You can see the garlic, etc., and I just need to add the salt. So I'm going to just quickly tidy this up, add the salt so that I can show you how we're going to take it to the next level. And this will fit in the jar, I promise you. So I'm going to show you the cabbage. I've already macerated it a little bit, but basically we're going to add the salt, and then we're going to macerate it up until the fluid, the water content of the cabbage comes out. And that process, or the process that we're doing now, is called lacto-fermentation. So by getting the water content out of the vegetables, we're then using that fluid to preserve the ferments in. So let's go in with some salt. I'm going to show you kind of how much I would put in. So it's a tablespoon, I would say, in this case, because it was only small cabbage, and I actually don't like my kraut too salty. Now, the process that you need to do is you just need to massage that in. So all the ingredients are in the bowl, and I've added a tablespoon of sea salt. I've started macerating it a little bit, otherwise the video will get really, really boring. The important thing to note at the moment is that I'm not wearing gloves. You don't have to, but obviously, particularly in this time, you need to make sure that your hands are really, really clean. A 2-minute hand wash is really, really important. But for me, it ruins it to wear gloves. It's all about connection with food, for me, fermentation. So I want to feel that what I'm doing, that I'm really touching the food, because, you know, we seem to have lost our connection with food a little bit, I feel. Although I'm hopeful that at the current times, people are getting back into baking and making simple things and not wasting any food. So what do we need to do to get it from a state like this to be able to go into a jar? Well, boringly, I can't even say that word, we need to macerate it. And what needs to happen is that the salt breaks down the vegetables and that the water content is released. So that's what I'm kind of doing now. There is no right or wrong, everyone. You just kind of got to go with it, and just really massage it up until the water content is released. I'm just gonna carry on a little bit more because it needs to get really wet, so that you can really see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to try and keep this brief, but basically what you're looking for is that your cabbage becomes really pliable. And just to demonstrate what that looks like, I'm going to use both my hands. So you know your cabbage is ready to be jarred, your kraut is ready to be jarred when it releases its water content, or a good proportion of it. So I'm going to squeeze, and hopefully you're going to see that the water content is coming out. And when you can see that, you know it's ready. If you can't see that, just keep macerating it or massaging, whatever you want to call it. And now I'm going to bring the jar over, the clean jar, and you're going to see the next bit of the process. So I've just opened the jar, and we're going to fill it. And I'm going to do that in front of you, and hopefully my phone doesn't keep falling. So basically what you do is let's bring this over. You just pop your cabbage inside, and you think it's never going to fit, and that's the beauty of it, it will. And that's also the point of it. So you can see I can already need to start squeezing it a bit in. But this process is called lacto-fermenting, and basically what you're doing is you're preserving or you're fermenting in the liquid or the water content of the vegetables. Now, can you see what I'm doing here? I am pressing down the vegetables, so the cabbage is going much lower than what it initially looked like. And the reason why I'm doing that is because the tighter I back it, the more that the water content comes to the top, and that's what you want to achieve. So I'm going to add a little bit more in there, which is the last bit. And I did say at the beginning of the film, I think that the whole cabbage would fit in, so I think we're in luck. So let's really, you've got to really kind of put some welly into it. Here we go. Actually, if I hold it a bit further away, you can see it. You can really see that I'm not a professional TV cook, but I hope that this has made it quite easy for you. Right, I think we're there. So I'm going to just show that, tighten it up a little bit. So can you see now? Whoops. There is some liquid on the top, and that's what you want to achieve. Now, ordinarily what I would do at home is put a little bit of baking parchment on there, but it's not, in this case, so necessary because it's all under the water content. You then close the jar and you place it in a room temperature, and I would say when it's been cut this finely, it will take about 2 weeks to ferment. So there you go. So that's it from me. I'm just having my cup of tea. But to recap, this jar contains a small Savoy cabbage. It contains 1 clove of garlic, a tablespoon of sea salt, and some bronze fennel leaves. I've chopped it finely, and then I've massaged it up until the water content has been released from the cabbage, and then I just stuffed it in a jar. And all that you now need to do is wait for about 10 days to 2 weeks, put it in a nice cupboard, put it somewhere in the kitchen, wherever there is a nice constant temperature. When you open the jar, it will whiff a little bit, but that's the whole point of it. Eat it, enjoy it, and from me, bye-bye. I hope to see you at Campfire Stories this September. Take care.